Hi, this is Katie Wright. Today I am here to show you how to use some of these markers. There are so many different types of markers out there, but I wanted to share with you what I learned about them and the mistakes that I made and the artworks I ruined because I didn't really understand how these different types of markers and pens work. And the number one thing that was so frustrating was that I would draw something and then it would smear and I would just ruin the whole thing. And so the most important thing that I learned was to really understand which of the markers and pen sets are water soluble and which ones are not. And so let me go through some of this with you. So originally, when I learned how to do this, how to start using all these different kinds of products, what I did was I would draw eyes on because I love to draw eyes, so I'm always drawing eyes. And so the face is the most important part of the face that you draw. So there will be eyes, and then I would have little eyelashes on the eyes and maybe the underneath part of the eyes. And then I would use like this pen here that I have. This is a Stid Liner Tri Plus Fine Liner, and I love the way this pen writes. But then what I found out was that if I started to put another kind of a color on top of this face, I'll just go ahead and use a yellow so you could see it. So let's say that I'm going to give this girl a little eyeshadow. And so I go and above it, and I try to do that. And now you could see how this ink smears. See, and let me just go over the whole thing. The whole thing just turns gray, right? And so that, I would just ruin so many faces like that, or the eyes. And so then I started to look for a pen that was water resistant. And every time I drew eyes, I have to make sure that I drew eyes and I could go over it with other colors on top of it. And so I used the best pen that I know is Micron. It's by Sakura Micron. And this pen does not run, and neither does Faber-Castell. Is another pen. And then the last one is Copic. Copic, and this is like a brush pen. So it just draws a little softer line and more broader line. So if you go and try to put some color on top of this, it does not run. See how the ink just stays the way that it was. So that's one thing that I learned, is to really understand which pens just ran gray like this, and which pens would keep your line very still and steady. Another pen that I think you hear me talking about is a Pentel pocket pen. And this is like a little brush pen, and it's a little Japanese kind of a brush pen I just love, because you can make your lines you could do it very fine, or you could draw them thick. And you could go, see how this is? You could draw thick and you could draw fine. And it would take a little bit of practice to get the pressure points right. But once you learn, this is just the greatest pen. And then the best part of this pen is that it doesn't run. So here we go. See, I could just go right over it as much as I want, and it does not run. So just remember that this is a permanent ink, and it's not water soluble. So it's a valuable tool to have. Now, when I draw shapes and things like that, when I'm doing a drawing with a pencil, I may draw let's say like a bunny rabbit, okay? So I'm gonna draw a bunny rabbit, and I draw with a pencil. Well, this pencil is really great because it doesn't run. Just the regular disc pencil that you use does not run, so it's really great. Now, this pen, but yet I think, okay, well, I'm gonna draw with this pencil. This is called a stabilo pencil that writes on paper, glass, plastic, metal. And I really like this pencil because it makes the edges of the things very soft, and it just gives it a real soft outline. So let's say that I want to give this rabbit a soft outline. So I'm going to draw him. Now, this is really nice. And so you want to create some kind of a effect with this. Notice how, if you go around the edges, notice how some of the parts you can make darker, and some of the parts. So it kind of almost give it a brush-like effect, and it makes the edges a lot darker. And I really love this pen though, but it took me a long time to learn how to use it. And so this is a very water soluble pencil, and it's considered like it's part of the charcoal pencil line, and a lot of artists love using this. So I wanted to talk about that. So then there are the different colored markers, and let me show you. The first one here is this is a brush watercolor marker pen with a real brush tip on it. So I keep this kind of like right by my computer because I don't want to go get water and mix my watercolor. If I want to try out little something, then I would just use this this brush pen. And if you watch me, you'll see this is just like a watercolor, except you're not really using water because it's already in here. And then if you want to, you could draw another color in here. So it's a little bit more stable than the watercolor, but it's not really like a marker either. It's because it's very, you could create real soft edges, and then you could color this in. You could color this in, and then you could get like maybe a little bit of royal blue, and you could add that right in there. And see what that does. I mean, it's really like a watercolor, but except it's a little bit more like, gives it a little bit more of a marker-like feel. But when kids when kids learn to draw with this, they love it because they don't have to mix with water and so forth. So this is called the Arteza watercolor brush pen. And it just comes in a package of 30 colors or 36 colors. And they're really handy to have, and it just creates another effect. And the next one is a pencil set called Derwent. And Derwent is a very, very popular brand in the art field. And it is these are Derwent ink tents. So you know that with a word like ink tents, you know that it has an inky feel to it. So let's try it, and let's go ahead and draw a flower again. And so this kind of draws like a little, just like a regular colored pencil. Now, if you want to add water to this, now can you see now how it turns into like a watercolor? And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and draw your. And if you don't want to add water to any of this, you don't have to. And you just press on it, and you do that. But if you add water to it, then it starts looking like you used a watercolor paint palette. So there you go. This is really a wonderful pencil set too, but you have to know that this is a water soluble Inktense. And so just this is a Derwent Inktense pencil set. So let's go to the markers, the real markers that we use. And one of the really popular markers that a lot of artists use for their work is called Tombow. And this is called Tombow markers. And again, this marker here is a water-based marker. So whenever you draw this, you have to know that you cannot go over this with other colors because it will run. So here's a pen, here's a water, here's a, I'm sorry, it looks like a watercolor flower, but this is really, this is a marker. And markers are really great too because you could draw real definite lines with this and it's more controllable. But if you do put water over this, then it will smear. And see, the minute I put water on here, it just smears all over. But if you don't put water on it, it's really great. And if you smear it with water and you want to add some more different kinds of color, you could do that. You could wet all these down too. So it's just that you just have to know what this marker set is. And it is water-based, it's very fluid, and it's easy to use. It's just a very easy pen to go, and also it letters really nicely if you want to do some lettering. It's very easy to brush on the paper, very easy to write with it, and so it's always nice to have this. And sometimes I use this to touch up little corners and things like that. So if I have a, like I might, this is a little bit lighter colors you can't see, but you could go right over your other work that you've done to add some accent colors and things like that. And you could still go on top of this too, see? So this is why it's always, you know, when you do artwork, people ask me, what do you use? And I say, I'm a multimedia artist because I use all kinds of things together. But I learned this by experimenting with different kinds of markers and brushes that I bought. And the last thing I want to show you is one of my favorite ones lately, and it's called Copic markers. And again, these are Japanese markers. You could get them here, but it's called Posca marker set. And it comes in really nice colors too. So when you think about Posca, it is not water-based, and it's very opaque. And that's the reason why this pen is really nice to have. I think young kids really enjoy using this because it's like a little marker, and it's not water soluble. And you could use this on glass, metals, cardboards. Like if I'm sending out a package, I write the address always with this because it doesn't run even if it hits the rain. But you do have to really carefully color everything in because it doesn't run, and you just have to, even if you add water, nothing's going to happen to it. And it makes a very, very, very clear, definite line. And you can see So it's not a real soft tip. It's kind of like a little harder felt tip. And then if you wanted to use and go over that, I'll show you. And if you wanted to put another color over it, see, you could just put it right over it and it shows up. And you want to do a little dots in black. These are great dot makers, by the way, for inside the flowers. And because even if you have it painted with other colors, this will go over it. And this makes really nice dots. And really nice poster paint, almost like. So there you go, and this is called the postcard markers. And I really believe that everybody should have one of these, no matter what you're doing, because they will always come in handy when you can't find any other colors that'll cover over what you've done. And so, and I think that there are so many more things, but I'm gonna stop here today because I think this is enough for now. And so I hope that you learned something from this, and you will really learn two things. Is it water soluble or is it non-soluble? And so if you understand those two things about your products, you will not have mistakes and ruin your artwork like I've done with so many of mine. So I hope this will help you. Thank you.